All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to Enough Already. This is our weekly webinar, and I'm so happy that you are all here with me. If this is your first time, I hope that you find valuable information. Same for you if you've been here with us multiple times. I hope that you are finding value in these conversations. Today, we're actually talking about ditching that self doubt and unleashing the powerhouse that you are. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we do, actually, let me tell you anytime that you're with me, I want you to think of uh, not just myself, but just the group in general, um, that we are your brave space. What I mean by that is that when we're growing, it can feel uncomfortable. It's really about being outside of our comfort zone, right? So embrace that discomfort. You might be able to find out something that you never thought about before. So lean into that experience instead of trying to judge it or walk away from it. Also, whenever we're together, let's have some respectful communication, meaning actively listen and communicate with kindness. This is what's going to help foster our judge free environment where we can all be brave in a safe space. The last one is participate with openness. What I mean by that is share openly and willingly, because you never know how your story can actually help somebody else. So be engage and feel free to share whatever comes up for you. Can we all agree with that? Thank you. All right. So a little bit about me before we get started. My name is Kitty Fezahazian. I am the founder of She Is Limitless Coaching. I'm a retired corporate leader that, while I really liked my job, it was no longer fulfilling to me. I knew that there was more to life and what I wanted out of life than what I was getting. So I it took a lot of courage and mental strength to leave the comfort of that job and the stability of it to go and explore what else was out there for me so that I could start living the life that I always envisioned and the life that really felt fulfilling. And this is where I'm at. I am now the coach for She Is Limitless Coaching. And I absolutely love working with the different women and finding out about your stories and just being able to share the things that I've gone through and how they have helped me. But it wasn't always like that. As you can see um, on the left, that was a broken Kitty. She was in her 20s and she didn't know what direction of life she was going to go. And I wasn't taking care of myself. I grew up with the nickname Gorda in Spanish, and I really leaned into that when I really wasn't. I was just thick. Um, and, I mistreated my body in various ways, not just unhealthy eating, unhealthy habits, but even unhealthy relationships. And then I started to do some work, inner work, and really exploring this on my own, just from listening to motivational speakers, just from um, learning about life and growing. And so there you have 40-year-old Ketty on the right hand side, where the only thing holding that outfit up is that tie around my waist and tape. I I never thought that I would wear something like that ever, ever. But I had the confidence to do it. And I mean, I'm 40, well, 40 now plus now, but why not? Right? I'm a girl, and why not just be open to that femininity? So that's who I am. So now let's go ahead and get started and find out what your superpower is. Before we get started into the material, let's center ourselves. I know it's a crazy week. I know it's a crazy day. You probably just got off work, or you're probably picking up the kids, doing homework, preparing for dinner, and it's just all this hecticness. But I want us to be centered and be centered in who we are. So repeat with me. I am worthy. And really feel that. Take a deep breath and say, I am worthy. I am capable. And I am enough. Let's say it again. I am worthy. I am capable. And I am enough. One more time, just so that it sets in right. I am worthy. I am capable. And I am enough. Thank you so much for doing that. I hope that this brings you peace and this helps you feel that empowerment. You know, as females, we are taught and we grow up with these stereotypes that society puts on us, sometimes our families. You know, women are weak, they are emotional, and but yet they still have to be the caregivers. And they have to do all of this while being passive, because no good girl's going to raise their voice. No good girl's going to say no, right? These are the stereotypes that our culture teaches us. It teaches us to shrink. And with that, we start to doubt our abilities. And we start to put others before us. Who cares what our needs are? It's we go based off of what everybody else needs. But I'm here to tell you that that's all a lie. You have incredible strength, and it's waiting for you to just unleash it. This journey is about reclaiming your narrative, honoring your worthiness, stepping into the most powerful, authentic version of yourself. So, are you ready? Let's get started. I created this Building Self-Esteem Toolkit. And these are 4 tools that can help you boost your confidence whenever you're feeling down. Once you have this, you can really pull from it as you need it. But first is finding your strength. Ask yourself, what am I naturally good at? Now, this can be a tricky question, especially for those of us who tend to see ourselves in a negative light. What I mean by that is that sometimes it's harder to identify our own strengths than it is to identify the strengths of others. So think about those things that come naturally to you. Maybe you're a good listener. Maybe you're empathetic. Or you're really good at making others feel seen. That's your superpower. The next one is setting healthy boundaries. It is so important to protect your energy. And saying no is not you being selfish. Saying no is actually self-love, because you deserve to protect your time, your energy, and your emotional well-being. If any of these are not in alignment, then how can you be anything for anybody else? How can you help others when they're not in alignment? So practice saying no to the things that do not fulfill you or do not align with your goals. Also, those things that drain your energy. And when I say things, I also mean people that drain your energy. Because don't we have those in our life? By setting boundaries, those that depend on you will actually benefit because you're going to be able to focus on the things that energize you, which will help you give others from a place of love and kindness versus feeling forced and overwhelmed. You want to practice positive affirmations. If you've been here before, you know we've talked about this multiple times. That's how important positive affirmations is to your well-being. It comes up over and over again. So to start your positive affirmations, it's the reason they are important is because you want to teach your brain to be rewired to think positively about yourself rather than the negative of who do you think you are? What are you doing? All that negativity, right? So here with positive affirmations, you're teaching it to think positively about yourself, which is going to increase your self-esteem. So to start writing positive affirmations, you want to do the following. Start with I am statements. They don't have to be long. They can be short. I would also recommend only having about 3 to 5 at the beginning and then even increasing it from that to 5 to 10. I have 10. You want to repeat them on a daily basis. This is like a mental gym, so they're your exercises. Be specific and write them in present tense because you want them to happen today. You want the mind to believe that it's happening today, and you want to be specific about it. And always stay positive with them. Remember, we're rewiring the brain to think positively. And repeat them not just daily, but also whenever it is that you need them. So if I am enough, right? And then throughout your day, something happens when you're not feeling like you are enough, you can remind yourself, no, I am enough. And repeat that affirmation and feel it. Your energy is going to shift, and so will your mentality. The next one is prioritize your self-care. You deserve to be nurtured. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you're probably running around nurturing everybody else, helping others. But who helps you? Who nurtures you? Do you have that one person that you can just go and hug? Even if you do, it's important to do that for yourself. Self-care is also not selfish at all. It's actually essential because you only have one body. If that body is not okay, then your mind's not going to be okay and your soul's not going to be okay. That 20-year-old Ketty, her mind wasn't okay, her soul wasn't okay, and her body wasn't okay. Her body developed a chronic illness that there is no cure for. Her soul was broken not knowing who she was in life. Her mind filled with negativity and judgment towards herself. So this is why self-care is important. So now my self-care is every Sunday, where I just blast my music, and it can be anything from cumbia, merengue, reggaeton, 90s hip hop, to classic jazz. It's just whatever mood I'm in. Ooh, boleros. Ooh, if you know what they are. Yes, they're amazing. So those are things that fuel my soul. I love to do my facials. That's the day that I wash my hair. That's the day when I take care of all the other stuff, shaving and everything else, scrubbing that needs to be done. Um, when the weather's beautiful out here, I like to sit out and read a book. If not, I also like to catch up on here's my confession, my guilty pleasure of watching Just Like That, which is the reboot of Sex and the City. Um, I love that show. I'm just waiting for season 3 now because Aiden and Carrie. But yeah, those are the things I like to do that helps nurture my body, my soul, and my mind. And these are just a few ways that I do them. But self-care looks different for everybody. Heck, deep cleaning the house can be your self-care. I know it is for my mom and my best friend. They love to clean. But, self-care is unique to you. It's about what fuels you. Remember, it is about doing the things that nourish your soul. So let's dive in more into identifying your superpowers, unleashing your strength. Put that backwards, but that's okay because it's still the same thing. The other 3, we're not really going to talk about setting boundaries because there's a video on that. If you missed the webinar, that was last week. I've also have a webinar on positive affirmations and how to go to that. So you can watch them in our YouTube channel. Next week, no, 2 weeks from today, we will be talking about self-care. So I want to save that for them. This time, we're just going to go in a little deeper on identifying your strengths. So what I want you to do now is I want you to take out a notepad or on your phone or anywhere that you have access to. And I want you to take note of these questions and take some time to really think about these responses. And even if it's not here right now, once we're done, you can actually go and reflect on them for yourself. So think of a time that you felt proud of yourself. What strengths did you use? Now, think about what comes naturally to you. And if you can't figure that out, what do people compliment you on? For a really long time, I thought, what value can I give others? I don't have anything to say, or I don't have anything to share with anyone. But I realized leading teams, I'm empathetic. I can listen to someone and empathize with them. And not only that, but I feel fulfilled when I'm able to provide guidance and then they come back with their aha moments to me. Because then I feel like, yes, I've made a difference. So something along those lines for you. What comes naturally and what do people compliment you? Now think about what are your top 3 values and how do those values connect to your strengths? We actually also talked about this in the very first webinar we had for Enough is Already. We discussed core values, which is also on our YouTube channel. You can revisit those so that you can start to find out, if you don't know what your top 3 values are, how to come up with them. What are they? Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just about embracing who you are. Once you have these, keep those on top of mind as you move through the journey of life. And also know that as time changes, so will these. The responses to this may change. Some, because it's core to who you are, may remain the same, but you may be adding more to it. So remember that it can be flexible. So don't think this is what I have to be and this is how I have to show up every single time, because it's also fluid. It's important to own your unique gifts, because this is what's essential to give you that confidence in a purposeful life. Once you have this, let's talk about how you can show up confident whenever you're communicating with others. First, you want to speak the truth with clarity and purpose. Avoid beating around the bush, giving hints. Wives, your spouse is not going to get the hint. Your kids are not going to get the hint, right? Be straight up. Speak the truth with clarity and purpose. So, whenever you're going to have an important conversation, prepare what you want to say. Before you speak, take a moment to clarify what message is it that you're trying to send. What is the core idea and what outcome are you hoping for? So an example would be during a work meeting, instead of just agreeing with the loudest voice in the room, ask yourself, what do I really think about this? What's my unique perspective? For years, I keep telling you guys about this. I was the yes girl. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. While my head was like, no, that's terrible. But I didn't want to go against the grain because remember, the good girl, right? But I wasn't doing anyone any favors with that. You also want to be direct and concise. Avoid that passive aggressiveness. Instead, actually state your needs and opinions directly and respectfully. So, if, for example, instead of saying, things aren't really working out like I thought, okay, well, what things? And what makes them not work out? What were you thinking? Instead, try, I like to talk about dividing up household chores more evenly. I think it would help reduce stress for both of us. And that's in the event of you and a roommate, you and a spouse. Another one is use I statements. This actually helps own your own perspective and avoids blaming or accusing others. So instead of you're always late, say, I feel disrespected when meetings don't start on time. There are times in life when we have to negotiate what we deserve. A lot of times as a Latina, I was raised to be thankful for the things we have, especially as a Latina immigrant. So first generation, I think, or maybe not even a first generation, just an immigrant. My parents, excuse me, were trying to learn to navigate this culture, how America works. And so everything they did, they were thankful for. Everything they had, they were thankful for. Oh, you hired me? Thank you. So that's what was passed down to me and my siblings. Whereas instead of seeing the value that I brought to a company based off of my skills, it was, I am thankful that I have this job and this opportunity. Well, yes, part of that is true, but I've also earned the opportunity. I also worked to be in that position or to even have that opportunity offered to me, right? So it's important to negotiate what you deserve. Know your worth, and I love this. Then add tax, right? Never underestimate your value. Whenever you're going for a job, research that industry, identify the standards, then Identify the accomplishments that you have within that industry or that role, and advocate for yourself. That is one thing that we do not get taught, especially women, right? Don't talk about yourself. You're being acreída, or you're being cocky when you talk about yourself like that. You should be humble. For a really long time, I wouldn't tell my story. I would struggle with sharing my story. But if I'm not telling my story, then who will? And who better to tell my story than me? I lived it. It's my story. Why am I going to allow other people to tell it for me? So, when negotiating a salary, don't be afraid to ask for more than the initial offer. Prepare your points, highlight your skills, and be confident in your worth. Be willing to walk away. Now, in a relationship, it's a little bit different. But again, also be willing to walk away. If somebody's not serving you in the way you need them to, they're not in alignment with what you need and want, and you've already expressed this multiple times, then you may need to explore that a little further. What does that mean? Right? When it comes to a job, how we were talking about negotiating salaries, have strong alternatives. That's going to give you some leverage. So maybe another job offer, or um, something else to fall back on. So sometimes it's happened to me where there's a potential client that has asked, for me to lower my rates. I've had to politely decline, even though I would love the opportunity to serve them. And heck yeah, it's money, right? Um, but I've had to decline people, because if I lower my rate, then I'm also lowering my value. What am I saying about that? I don't believe in my value. That's what I'm saying to the client. And how are they going to believe in me? Right? And don't be afraid of counter offer. So negotiation is a dance. Just be respectful, but also be firm and advocate what your needs are. And this can also be not just in negotiating salary, but in negotiating um, something, an opinion between maybe you and your spouse, that they're like, I will not throw the trash out ever. Then in your negotiation, you can say, well, how about this? Right? It's coming to an agreement. The next one is body language, and body language matters. So you always want to stand tall, make eye contact. While you stand and sit, remember your posture, shoulders back, back straight. When you're hunched over and you sit like this, and you're always looking at the floor when you're speaking, what message are you conveying to your audience? Or if you're sitting like this, yeah, no. Again, how are others going to view you? You want to sit up tall and have eye contact. This is going to engage your audience. It shows that you're present and that you're interested and you're confident. Speak clearly and in a confident tone. So your tone matters. Don't be afraid to take up space with your voice, especially when you're giving presentations like at work, or if you're hosting a meeting. Everybody needs to hear you. Instead of this, because if you're not practicing your voice, then, right, how are you going to come off? Even if that's your natural way of speaking. you still want to put some into that so that they know that you're the authority in the room. You're the one that has the floor. But even when you're doing this in your personal life, your body language matters. All right. Well, that's great and all. You might be like, yes, Ketty, in theory, that all works. That's great. But I live in the real world, right? So let's be real. All these tools and knowledge would work in a perfect world. But we have to interact with imperfect humans like ourselves. And sometimes the script isn't written most of the time in our lives. Scripts aren't written, right? So life loves to throw curveballs at us. And because of this, there's going to be times when your self-esteem takes a hit. You can have all the positive affirmations in the world. You could be doing all the self-care. You could be, knowing what your strengths are and setting boundaries. But then that one thing happens. It has happened to me many times. Life is a roller coaster. Somebody says, I said roller coaster, but this one's about mountains. Sometimes you're at the top of the mountain and sometimes you're in the valley. And in the valley, sometimes realizing that you have these tools is difficult because your mind doesn't even want to go there. I've been there when I was like, okay, next time that I'm in that valley, or sometimes that when I'm down, how am I going to get out of it? So I heard somebody say, okay, what you do is you have a playlist of music and things that are going to help inspire you and motivate you. Girl, when I was in that valley, the last thing I wanted to do was listen to that playlist. And my brain was telling me, my brain was literally like, hey, remember, we got this. Hey, remember? But I was like, nah, I don't want to listen to that. I want nothing to do with those positive things right now. And it wasn't like a day or a few hours, it's like months or a week. And then it's like, wait, snap out of it, come back. So don't be too hard on yourself. That's why I share this, because we all go through the motions sometimes, and it's just life. And we gotta be okay with that. I recently learned, do not judge yourself for the things you didn't know in your past. Let that be and just move forward. So stop it. Stop judging yourself and being so hard on yourself. Instead, reframe challenges as your opportunity to grow. Practice your self-compassion. That's what I'm telling you. Be okay. It's okay. You don't want to listen to the positive stuff right now? Cool, chill. I would tell my doctor, because my doctor was always like, Kenny, you're so positive. Like, do you ever crack? Like, you deal with like some hard things, and I've never seen you come in here without a smile. In my head, I was like, damn, doctor, if you knew, you really knew. But what I told them was, and this is true, what I do, whenever I get any bad diagnosis or any bad news about my health, I throw a pity party. One day pity party. That day, I go home, cry it out, do whatever it is I need to do. So I also do bi-weekly treatments. Even then, even though nothing may have happened, it was just the treatment itself. Something mentally, it does something to me. So I'll come home, I'll stop to get a cupcake on the way home. And then I just chill the rest of the evening. Um, that's how I self-care, my mental, right? I don't put pressure on myself to do much. But if I get out of that treatment without any energy. And it's not the medicine itself, it's just the situation um, that I just will treat myself. But yeah, one day pity party, and then the next day, girl, I echarles ganas. Let's keep it moving because life goes on, right? And remember your resilience. You have overcome so many obstacles in life, even without maybe this knowledge. And if you did it back then you can do it again. I tell myself that every time, like, I'm lifting weights and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. If I'm like at 15, and then I'm like, you did it yesterday or you did it last week, you can do it again. But that's just an example of one area of my life. It could be something way bigger for you, right? That you've gone through before. One thing about life is you have to get good at starting over and over and over and over again. Because again, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. You never know when that valley's coming. You always got to be prepared. And to be prepared, it means to be prepared in your mind, in your soul, and your body. All right. With that, let's look at our key takeaways. So in the chat, feel free to type in, or in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, type in what are your key takeaways from today. What I want you to walk away with is you are brilliant, you are worthy, and you are enough. Because remember, you are perfect just the way you are, today and every day. I hope you have found this content valuable. Thank you again so much for joining me on this empowering journey. Remember that building self-esteem is an ongoing process. It's never a destination. So be patient with yourself, celebrate your wins, no matter how small, and never stop believing in your own amazing potential. Let's keep this conversation going by commenting. If you're on YouTube, I want to read your comments. Also, follow us on Instagram at She Is Limitless Coach, Facebook at She Is Limitless. You can go on our website and find out more about our programs as well as our webinars that are coming up. If you feel like you need to do one-on-one coaching and you want to do a personal deep dive with me, my email is sheisLimitlessCoach@gmail.com. And until next time, have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye.